Hello and welcome to episode 1, where I am talking about business organization and getting organized with your business. I feel like the whole world in this talk is being quite noisy as I'm recording this, but hey ho, that's life, isn't it? So this episode, I've had to just start with this because it is such a key topic in everything that I talk about. Getting organized in your business, everything that I do is all about that. And so I wanted to bring this as the first of many episodes with this this season, this subscription, this way of connecting with me in my business and all the content that I produce. So it was key that I came with this because it's like I was thinking, what can I start with? What can I kick things off with? But it had to be getting organized, because actually getting organized is so fundamental when it comes to business. And the amount of people that I meet that actually aren't organized is quite a shocker. Like, I meet people all the time who are not organized in their business. It's really, really fundamental. It's so key for your business to succeed. And it took me a long time before I actually realized this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a bit about how that kind of came to be for me, and you probably will relate, you may not, but yeah, let's just go with that. So I run a business for 9 years. I actually, at the time of recording this, I actually have only recently just closed it. It was a successful business, but I hit an income ceiling in 2021, where I was fully booked, but I couldn't take any more on because I'd actually started this business coaching and mentoring business, and it created a new problem. So the previous problem is that I wasn't earning enough money. So then I turned that around in 4 months through organisation, which I'm going to share with you now. But then I was presented with a new problem, was that I hit a cap. I couldn't earn any more money from that business. And I looked and asked some of the biggest business coaches in their groups and sales coaches, and I asked so many people. I was in a membership where I asked, and I was told just to get a job. And actually, I'd just left my NHS employed job, so that wasn't great advice at all. And I very quickly came out of that community because of that advice. Because for those that don't know me, I actually have a husband with quite a few disabilities, and neurodiversity is actually being in the process of being diagnosed with neurodiverse conditions. And I also believe that I've got ADHD. And so this was quite a challenge. So I came out of work for that reason. So to be told to go and get a job to supplement my income was a bit of a shock. And I was a bit like, that is not what I'm here for. That is not the kind of communities I want to be part of. We instead should be supporting each other and not telling each other to get a job. And it has an impact. All of it has an impact. And I actually did overcome this income ceiling. I knew what I needed to do. I figured it out on my own. I figured it out myself. But the key thing here is, and it's a bit of honesty time as well, is that I actually didn't achieve it. And it's not that I couldn't, because I could. I started putting the work in place, but the thing is I was spending more time in my business coaching and mentoring business, and I was leaving the other business behind, and I slowly started to fall into falling out of love with my previous business, which was a memory keepsakes business. And to this day, I still love making them, and I still do make them, because I'm so well known for it now, because like I say, it's been 9 years. But the thing is, the pressure to do that, and they take a lot of time, and I needed to increase the prices, which I have done. So if anyone comes to me for now, the prices are a lot higher, because it's not what I usually do, because I'm a business coach and mentor now, and that's predominantly what I do. But it was that balance between the both and wanting to work only a 4-day week. It took a lot to get there, and I just didn't have the passion for it anymore. But with better organisation, I know that I could have achieved exceeding that income ceiling. And I'll tell you how I did that, how I would have done that, and how I did start to do that. Basically, I would have taken, a lot of people say, take your knowledge and teach it, which is great, but the pattern I was using wasn't mine. It wasn't possible for me to do that unless I developed my own pattern. And I just wasn't willing to put time into something like that was so big, that was time consuming. And as I say all the time, I'm about working smarter, not harder. And that would have been hard work for me. So I naturally went against it. It wasn't serving my creative abilities, so I just couldn't step into doing it. So I just decided not to, and I didn't do it. But the ways that I did do it was I started doing downloads. So I thought about how can I serve people that have this problem that I'm solving, which is so fundamental in business. And that problem was they wanted to capture memories of their loved ones. So how could I help them with that? So I created a downloadable product basically that I was giving away for free to get people onto my email list. And it was just like an image where they could put a picture of their loved one. There was like a selection of 3 that they had. They could put a picture in, they could print it off, frame it, and it would be the perfect gift. And it literally only cost them the price of the frame. And it was an amazing idea. So I thought, oh, I could do this and I could design things that will take me like time to design, but then people seconds to actually insert their images, print it, and it can produce a gift. So that was the income stream that I started off. It was something that I could create that wasn't a physical product like a bear or a cushion or a blanket that didn't take a lot of time. And I implemented that, and I started creating those and selling on Etsy and putting them on my website and getting them out there. And in exchange for the free ones, I only gave away 3 of them for free. I gave a discount code for 25% off their first order, and that started being used up, which was amazing because it was a lead generator and it was working. It was getting me sales, but because I'd not yet increased my prices, it was taking 25% off each sale, which is not ideal unless your prices reflect that to include that discount, which I'd always recommend. So pricing structures are something that you definitely need to organise in your business. So I started off with that. That was just one way. The other way was going to be workshops and sharing, how to make a patchwork cushion, how to do a shirt cushion, how to do embroidery, all these little things that I could teach. And when it comes to sewing and keepsake making, how I could bring that to families who maybe want to do it together or can't afford to get me to do them. So I thought, how can I do that? So workshops was my answer. But deep down, I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. So I never took action on any of it. And realistically, looking at my time and my own schedule, which is so important for business organisation, and knowing where you stand as well, I looked at that and it just didn't fit. I just couldn't see how I could possibly fit in both of these businesses into a 4-day working week, because I wanted to give myself Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays off because I was spending way too much time on business, working, and not enough time with my family. And because of that, I felt wife guilt. That's what I call it when I feel guilty that I'm not spending time with my husband or paying him any attention. And then obviously the famous one, mum guilt, when we are not paying our children attention. And then now I've got dogs, so like they probably would have started getting like dog guilt or dog mum guilt or whatever you call it. And it's not nice to feel like that, because then that impacts your mindset and then you're not going to produce better quality work. So I needed to take action on that, and so I closed my business down. So you've got a bit of honesty around my journey and what actually happened there, and I'm not afraid to share it anymore, because the thing is, in the online space, there is not enough of this honesty, and there needs to be more of this honesty. And it's a real bugbear of mine because I see it all the time from people I've worked with or people that I now see through, and they're not leading with integrity, and they're not being open, and they're not being honest, but they will charge you a pretty penny to serve what they serve. And a lot of things are structured, and obviously I am strategic in what I do, but I don't have a rigid cookie cutter structure in that you should do business this way. And so it really led me down this path of being the queen of organisation. How can I do that in a way that's going to make a difference to you, to your business, to save time, to increase your productivity so that you can earn more money and so that you can work smarter, not harder? And so I looked at it and I thought, you know what, it needs to be that personal aspect, and that's what I lead with. So in this time, I've had all this time, I've built this amazing business, I've closed it down, and now I'm here, and I'm here to tell you about how in that business, because when I got to the point of starting this, when I've gone from the keepsake business to running the business coach and mentorship business, in fact, I'll share you a bigger part of the story in a second, but actually discovered that I need to be organised, but I was already there when I'd started this business. So I'm going to take you through the experience that I had in that keepsake business and how being organised is so important. So basically, I started up and it took me 6 years before I made any money. very quickly I realised that I needed to be organised in terms of financial situations. So knowing the money that was in my business, managing my bookkeeping, learning to do my tax return. I did all of that in the beginning. If you haven't done it, definitely go do that. It's boring. I mean, I hate it as well, but it's essential. So if you know it's essential, don't put it off. Stop procrastinating on it, because we procrastinate and spend so much more time putting things off than actually doing things that are going to impact our business. So if you can just get that thing out of the way that you don't like, it's going to free up your mind to do the things that you do like. And this was one of the first things that I had to realize, is that actually being organized was more about mindset than I had ever noticed. So I needed to sort my mindset out to enable to be like organized, because my mind wasn't in the right place to actually take action to organize the things that I needed to within my business. So the financial side was kind of taken care of. Then I needed to like organize my prices. Like when I started, I was charging £25 for a memory bear, and I see people now charging that price, and I just think, oh, what are you doing? Because I know how long they take to make, and £25 is not in profit. So if you are a maker and you are not charging your hourly rate, or you don't even have an hourly rate, get that sorted right now. One thing you need to organise is your pricing structure. So that's just one of many things that came up for me, was that I needed to organise my pricing structure. Another thing that came up was that even though I had my prices set, you know, I'd worked on my branding, I did my logo, I was out there, I was getting visible. And when I really started taking action in my business, I realised that I didn't have actual strategy in place. So this is where I needed to get organised as well. I needed to actually implement a strategy. And I just didn't know where to start. I did actually take a business enterprise course, and I qualified at level 2 business enterprise, which helped me massively. And I got a free mentor with the Prince's Trust, which I'm so grateful for, because it's made a massive difference to my business journey. But when I had that, like, I didn't realise how much actually was involved in business. So I had to work on this. I was creating spreadsheets for my marketing plan, because if I didn't know what I was doing when, then how could I execute it? So that's something else that you need. There's so much to think about when it comes to organisation in your business. Is your marketing plan and strategy, and how you're going to execute it. And when I say the word strategy doesn't apply to just your business, like one thing. There is different variables in that. So things like your social media strategy. So how are you using it? How are you executing? Bringing in leads, nurturing leads, and converting those sales. Then you've got your email marketing strategy. You've got your content strategy, which is separate, because like social media, there's so many elements to it, like how you are on the face of it, but then the elements that you're using, but then also the content within that as well. So those kind of come hand in hand. So you've got your content strategy there as well. Your lead generation strategy. So how are you actually generating leads in? Your nurture strategy. How are you looking after the people that come in? So suddenly, all these things I needed to organize within my business. The more and more I learn about growing my business, the more and more overwhelmed I got. And this happens all the time, because I was following these gurus, I was joining masterclasses, joining courses, paying for all these things that were helping, and I had all this knowledge now. But what was happening was, okay, you've got to do content, you need to sort your social media, you need to do email marketing, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. And all of that, just written on scraps of paper, was never going to work. Never, ever going to work. And I heard this once, and it's such a true thing that I stick by, is that if your plans are in your head, then your plans are not secure. And it's so, so true. There's a statistic that if you write down a goal, you're 47% more chance of actually achieving it. So think about that in terms of your business strategy and your marketing and your systems within your business, being organized, all of that stuff. If you've got it written down rather than just inside your mind, think about the impact that that's going to have on your business. Because I don't know about you, but nothing stays in this head that I've got for very long. It just doesn't. I apologise if you can hear my children. It's actually summer when I'm recording this, and they're on the other side of that wall in my front garden, all playing on the swing. So you might hear some children's laughter, and I can hear them going, no, no, at the minute. And this is what you get with me. You get real life, raw and real life, because we do have noise in the background and our children playing. And you know, it's a nice thing. I'm not going to be bothered by the fact that you can hear it, because it's a nice thing to hear. And I'm a mum, and that's part of me and my business. So back to organisation. So all of this stuff very, very quickly can become overwhelming. So I had two choices in that moment. And if you're feeling like this at the minute, you're overwhelmed because you need to make sure your social media is generating leads and you need to have a strategy and you don't have one, and you want to get sales in, but you're not sure how to build a sales strategy and all of these things and all of these, I might have been following loads of gurus and stuff like that and learning the business fundamentals, and you know what you need to do, but for some reason, you just can't compute and put it all in place. Something's holding you back. This could be the reason. It's because you might feel overwhelmed by everything that you've got to do and you just don't know how to start and you don't know how to tackle it. And this is exactly where I was at. So I needed to get myself organized. So what I started doing was I started creating systems that helped with all of that. So one of the best things I ever did was automate things. So what I mean by that was like scheduling instead of just winging it. Because I used to, every morning, I would sit on my phone like, okay, I need to post on my page. Yeah, I'm sat there and I'm trying to think about what to post, and in the end, I'm just posting "Good morning," which is nothing. It's not going to do anything to grow my audience. It's not going to bring people in. It's not going to sell. So that's a waste of time. I've just wasted 15 minutes thinking about a post to just write "Good morning," which has got nothing to do with my business and what I'm doing or my goals. So then, before I know it, I've started my day. And I've got another post to put in because it's middle of the day and the gurus are telling me I need to post again. So I'm like, oh, what do I post now? And then, I come to it at the end of the day again, oh, what do I post now? So content became an issue, but I was spending more time thinking about it than actually doing it. So I was procrastinating, I was wasting time, and then actually what I produced anyway wasn't of quality value. The thing that changed was batch creating it all together. So making sure I had that set time to batch create and then scheduling it. And I know for creative people in particular, there is a lot of resistance against doing that, but actually that purpose of doing it will save you much better in your business because you're going to get more done. You're going to get more done and you're going to get out there, and you guarantee that once you start creating content, once you get into the swing of it and once you find that creative flow and energy, you're going to produce better quality content as well. So that's what kind of happens. This is just one example where I then created a system that worked for me. So I automated it by scheduling. I did the same thing with my emails. I created automated sequences. So there was a series of emails when people signed up. So I didn't have to be there and they would still get an email from me. And I got organized. So I took certain aspects of my business, I looked at what the problem was, and I started creating systems that could overcome this. So that is how I became to be the queen of business organization. And it wasn't that I started shouting about this system. I shared one system. I shared my daily method of operation, which if you don't know what that is, it's just a way of working every single day to have essential income producing activities in your diary. I shared it to an online networking community and everyone went wild for, oh my God, how did you create that? How do you know what to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was overwhelmed by messages, and that's actually what kick-started off this business, to be a business coach and mentor, that one post. And I just served that system, but it solved a problem, it served a purpose. So I created those ways of working that were just easier for me. What actually happened later on was the more and more I found problems in my business where I couldn't manage and I couldn't keep on top of things, I created a new system. So it might be a spreadsheet or a Trello board or a checklist to work through. It might be a planner. It could be folders of things. It could be designs and groups, categories on Canva. It could be all sorts of things, because all of those things are part and parcel of what I do and have created to ensure that I stay on top of things within my business. Because if I became overwhelmed, I tried to catch myself up and I would burn out. And I said that I'd share a part of my story which was really relevant when I was really needing to get organized. And I share this a lot because I believe if I can, in this situation, get organized enough to earn money from my business, then anyone can, especially if you just work in one business. Whether you've got that alongside one job or children or whatever your situation is. When you compare, I don't like comparison, but looking back at what I had to deal with, if I could do that, and I wouldn't recommend it because I did burn out, but if I could do that, then anyone can. And it does take more work in the beginning. So here is what the situation was. I was working 16 hours part-time within the NHS. and it was we were just sort of coming out of lockdown, and it was been such a challenging time. I was anxious on the way to work, at work, coming home. It was very stressful. I wasn't happy. So I really, really wanted to push this business and my other business, and I wanted things to work. So I was running both businesses. The keepsake business, the coaching business had just started up. And then I was working for the NHS. I then took on the networking leader position for Mums in Business in my local area. So I was running the networking sessions as well. So when you look at all those 4 things, I essentially had 4 jobs. 4 jobs. And this is what my day-to-day looked like, or what my week looked like. Monday to Friday, I rolled out of bed at 6 a.m. I started working. And I don't mean working as in on my mindset like I do now. I mean working. And I would go until dinner time. Sometimes I even eat my dinner at my desk because I was making keepsakes and I was producing content for my membership and I was doing all the things. I was organising networking events and I had a long list to do. So I'd even eat at my desk. And then I'd work right through until 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I got up. I would sometimes have a coffee and scroll through my phone before I went, but I'd grab my uniform and I would head to work. I worked part-time, so it was like a 20-30 minute journey, and I used that time on the bus to do more work. Got to my shift, did my shift. Like, I'm not going to get in trouble for this now because I'm not there anymore, but I did leave early nearly every single day when I could. And I left early and I got the bus home and I'd work on the bus. I'd get home, I'd get a shower, and then I'd probably go back to working again, have a tea and get back to working, probably till about 11 o'clock most nights. And then I'd collapse, go to sleep and do it all over again the next day. So then what I was finding was on Saturdays and Sundays, I was completely burning out. But although that's not an ideal situation, working 4 jobs with 3 children and a disabled husband, it's not ideal and I would not recommend it. And I'm not an advocate of it. But what that did do for me was it helped me to get super, super organised in my businesses, because in that time, I was selling out keepsake slots. I was fully booked. I was doing really good with the networking events. I was getting around probably about 10 people booking on at that point. Then I'd launched my coaching and mentoring business, and I was selling there as well. I got people joining my membership, and I was launching my first ever course, and I did really, really well at that first launch actually. And I made a lot of money. I think it was £1,500 at my first launch, which is, it might not sound a lot, but your first ever launch of a group program is amazing. I know people have done more, but I also know, of course I do, but I also know that a lot of people, and a high percentage, I'd probably say 95% of people, don't even get 2 clients booked on their first launch because they've not been strategic about it and organised. But that's a whole other story, and I will probably talk about launching in another episode. But I had that as well. So I was doing that successfully, and then obviously I got paid from my NHS job where I was doing really, really well. It ended up that the staff member I worked with left, so I took over catering. So I all of a sudden had extra responsibility on me, and I needed to be organised at work because I all of a sudden had 28 patients to deal with, if not more, because we were admissions. So sometimes we had more patients waiting to get in bed and things like that. It was absolute madness and chaos. But I managed all of it. I made sure that I was doing lead generation for the networking group, for my keepsake business, and for my coaching business. I was nurturing those audiences. I was selling and I was getting results. Yes, I burnt out, but I was organised enough to get those results. I eventually, obviously, of course, did leave the networking leader position. In fact, it went in this order. I left my job at the NHS, the hospital. I left my network leader position, and then there was a big gap, and then now I've just closed my keepsake business down so that I can fully focus on what lights me up the most, and that is this business coaching and mentoring. But it was quite a journey, and getting organised was absolutely fundamental. So I just want to say, like, the top takeaway I guess from this talk is you can do and have it all, but it doesn't have to burn you out. So my top bit of advice from this session would be to ensure that you batch create and automate what you can, and create systems to solve problems. Create a solution for the challenges that you have in your business when it comes to keeping on top of things and staying organised. So that would be my biggest recommendation. Remember to sorry, talk a lot and start coughing. Remember to rate and review and subscribe for this episode so that I know you're enjoying this content and I can bring you more. So I hope you've enjoyed this first segment, this first episode. Please subscribe, please rate, please review, comment, do all the things so that I know that you've enjoyed it. And remember that you can find me on most platforms as Queen of Business Organisation, and join the Facebook community Business Growth Club for more tips, lives, questions and discussions. So all the best from your host, Danny Louise Smith, the Queen of Business Organisation.